Throughout history, countless civilizations have risen and fallen all over the world. Many, especially in early history, left behind mysteries that would puzzle civilizations for hundreds or thousands of years. Some mysteries, such as the construction of Stonehenge, are well known, while decades of studies have uncovered the truth behind these ancient mysteries. But there are still hundreds of other unsolved mysteries that we will likely never unravel. These are 5 of the most eerie ancient mysteries from around the world. Number 5. From the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean, there are stories of ancient cities lost to the sea. Some have been proven to be true, sparking hopes of discovering more famous sunken cities. Less common are ancient civilizations lost to the sand. The Kalahari Desert in southern Africa is one of the oldest deserts on Earth. Believed to be around 65 million years old, the Kalahari is technically only a semi-desert, with many plants and animals surviving in the harsh heat. Even some humans managed to live in the waterless place, and Bushmen have lived there for over 20,000 years. Large human settlements, however, seem impossible. In 1885, American explorer William Leonard Hunt claimed to have discovered the ruins of an ancient city in the desert. Hunt described the mile-long ruins as huge stones with traces of cement between them, shaped in a semicircle. Hunt's son searched for writings on the stone but found none. They took photos and sketches, then presented their findings to European geographical societies. The explorer admitted that he didn't know who had created the buildings or where they had gone, but was certain that what he had discovered was man-made. Hunt definitely found something in the desert, but it's hard to believe a large human settlement could survive in such harsh conditions. However, conditions in the Kalahari haven't always been so harsh. A brief wet spell around 10,000 years ago led to Great Lakes forming in the basin. It's likely at the time the areas surrounding the lakes would have been much greener. So could ancient humans have built Hunt's lost settlement on the shores of one of those lakes? It's possible, but any such settlement would predate similar ones in sub-Saharan Africa by thousands of years. Dozens of expeditions have scoured the desert in search of that lost city, but have come up with nothing. Some doubt Hunt's story altogether, while others have speculated that he found natural rock formations. Advancements in technology have also come up with little evidence. Radar has proven there's something beneath the sands, something even appearing to be like man-made structures, but it's not clear if these are the remains of a lost settlement or recently built irrigation channels. We can't know for sure if Hunt really did find an ancient settlement, but if he did, the ruins only leave more questions than answers. Number 4. The Ajanta Caves in India are a series of man-made chasms built directly into the cliffs around 2nd century BC to 600 AD. They house some of the oldest Buddhist art in the world, with statues and paintings depicting the Buddha, princes, princesses, animals, and riches. Each work of art is believed to have been crafted in a painstaking detail, with images being chiseled into the rock before paint was applied. Artisans used various color techniques to give their portraits a lifelike effect, incorporating aspects of classical Greek art due to influence of Alexander the Great. All of this without modern technology is a truly astonishing feat. The area was very important to Buddhists. The caves were used as monasteries, worship halls, and retreats during the Indian monsoon season. It was a tranquil place for followers of the Buddha to focus on reaching Nirvana. However, when a British officer stumbled across the caves in 1819, they'd been abandoned for 1,000 years and reclaimed by the jungle that surrounded them. Many of the incredible works of art were destroyed by Europeans shortly after being discovered, but much of the site has been preserved and is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's now also a popular tourist site where people come from around the world to see the art and learn about early Buddhist history. Because of this preservation and restoration, scholars have been able to discover a lot about the caves. We know that they were built in 2 phases, and we know roughly when they were built, and we know what the art hidden away in the caves for 1,000 years depicts. What we don't know for sure is why it was abandoned. Historians theorize that a government regime change occurred not long after the second building phase was completed. It's possible that this change of regime forced Buddhists to leave the site. However, we have no evidence that this is what happened, as it seems unlikely the site would have just been left and reclaimed by nature. The breathtaking art in the caves could have come with a high price tag, likely paid for by royalty or rich merchants. If these sponsors survived the regime change, why was it that the site was lost? If the new regime prevented access to the caves, why was the art not destroyed? While we don't know what exactly happened, the idea that the caves probably weren't willingly abandoned by their creators can leave visitors with an eerie feeling while taking in the lost work. Number 3. The main reason modern historians know so much about ancient Europe is the conquest of Rome. The Romans were methodical in their record-keeping, keeping track of their wins and their losses. This makes the disappearance of an entire Roman legion all the more mysterious. Legio Hispania is one of Rome's most feared fighting units. The group of 5,000 men were skilled soldiers fighting in numerous Roman conflicts. After Octavius seized power, the legion was sent to conquer Britain. They took a number of victories and built a fortress in what is today York. An attempt to invade Caledonia almost ended in disaster and their fortress was damaged. The 9th Legion rebuilt the fortress before heading back to Caledonia, never to be seen again. The last written record of the formidable legion was the rebuild of the fortress in 108 AD. In 197 AD, Rome issued 2 lists of Roman legions, and the Legio Hispania was absent, so sometime in that 90 years, the legion disappeared. The obvious answer is defeat at the hands of the Caledonians. Though a strong legion, they weren't undefeated. Large numbers of Roman soldiers were killed by British tribes as they tried to conquer their island. It was shortly after the legion's disappearance that Hadrian's famous wall was built to keep out the uncivilized Caledonians. However, the Romans usually made records of their losses as well as their wins. The losses in Britain were written about by many Romans, so it's strange that the 9th Legion wasn't mentioned at all. Some speculate the legion escaped Britain to fight in other battles, where they were then wiped out. The Romans were battling a number of tribes both inside and outside of their empire at the time, but the most interesting possibility is a loss to the Parthians of Armenia, when records show that an unnamed legion were wiped out. It's possible that this was the legion we're speaking of. It meant that the legion was able to remain undocumented in Rome for around 50 years. Unless more Roman records are found, it's likely the fates of these 5,000 men sent into Caledonia all those years ago will remain a mystery. Number 2. There are 2 chilling aspects of the Plain of Jars, an archaeological site of thousands of stone jars legends say were created by kings and giants. The plain itself actually covers almost 100 jar sites between Vietnam and Thailand. The jars' giant sedimentary structures, between 3 and 10 feet high, and weighing up to 14 tons, are partially buried, dotted around the site without any obvious pattern. While the Plain of Jars lies in Laos, the structures have been found in Vietnam, China, and India. Archaeologists first dated the structures back to 500 to 800 AD, which probably rules out the giant king theory. While there are theories about what they were actually used for, they just remain theories. Initially, it was thought the jars might be used to store goods, such as bread and jewelry. Early reports described jewelry being found in some of the jars. The trail of jars leading to India suggested that they were used in trade or possibly to collect rainwater. In the 1930s, French researchers came up with a much more grim conclusion. The jars were used in preparations for funerals and were used as urns. Later discoveries found human remains and burial goods around the jars, solidifying this theory. However, further research called this theory into question when carbon dating suggested the jars themselves were hundreds of years older than we originally thought. If that's the case, the jars were also older than the remains that were found inside of them. If that's the case, the jars have had an alternative use before being converted into urns. This possible original use will remain a mystery, but it's likely the native people believed the jars themselves held significance. Research on the jars is hindered by the site being one of the most dangerous archaeological sites in the world. Along with the jars, landmines and unexploded bombs are hidden in the surrounding area, a reminder of the United States' secret war against the neighboring North Vietnam. Bomb craters and broken jars can be found in the plains, and free movement is limited as visitors must stick to cleared walkways. In modern times, even without a definite answer to the purpose of the jars, the site itself remains a reminder of human mortality. Number 1. The Chaco Canyon holds many mysteries about the advanced pre-Columbian civilization that called the area their home. The canyon in the southwest USA lies in the middle of a large desert. Like the Kalahari, it should have been impossible for an ancient civilization to live there, but the Chaco people did for 2,000 years. The structures were used for ceremonies, trade, and political activities, as well as multi-story great houses that remained the largest building ever built in North America until the 19th century. Materials including timber were brought over from 50 miles away to use in these structures, and astronomical alignments were crucial to their positioning. Like the building of the Egyptian pyramids, we still have countless questions about how the Chaco people built these vast structures, and how they transported the materials without carts, and how they were able to so accurately align their buildings with solar and lunar cycles. The biggest mystery, though, is why the Chaco people left. Not long after construction ended, the area was abandoned, with some sources even claiming that the doors were sealed behind them as the Chaco people left the canyon for the final time. It's likely the exodus away from the city wasn't as immediate as we imagine it though, but the collapse of society in the Chaco Canyon was relatively swift. Many have speculated about why the city was abandoned. Everything from droughts to war to, of course, aliens have been suggested, but we are yet to discover any definite evidence. The suggestion that the construction of the city itself depleted resources and ruined farmland in the area has been disproven by many researchers. Even with the vast amount of wood needed for the settlement, the people didn't have a noticeable impact on the forests. All other theories still remain possible, and like the mysterious Bronze Age collapse in the Mediterranean, it's likely a number of factors caused the abandonment of this impressive settlement. Internal rebellions from conquered people, a change in the focus of religious beliefs, and droughts are all thought to have contributed to the mysterious disappearances of the Chaco people. Of course, for some people, the big question is why the people settled in the inhospitable land in the first place. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads.